I never imagined a knock at my door would be the start of something that would change not just my life, but the entire community around me. It was 7:06 a.m. on a Saturday, the kind of crisp Colorado morning where the sun barely filters through the frost-lined trees, and you sip coffee with both hands just to feel something warm. My place sits on 6 acres at the edge of Silver Pines, a high-end HOA-run enclave near Telluride. The kind of neighborhood where Teslas outnumber trucks. Lawn care is a competitive sport, and every house looks like it came out of an architecture digest. Except mine. My property's older, but it's mine. I paid for every inch. I'm not in the HOA, and honestly, that's the only reason I've stayed. So, when the knock came, loud, sharp, entitled, I already knew who it was. Amanda Whitmore, the HOA president. The kind of woman who speaks in italics and makes demands like she's doing you a favor. She was wearing a white winter coat with fur lining, high-end makeup at 7 in the morning, and heels so thin they barely made an imprint in the snow. I opened the door, mid-sip, coffee still in hand. "Good morning," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We need your land." Just like that. Not hello, not may I come in, not even may I ask. We need your land. "I'm sorry," I asked, blinking. "Tonight's the wedding party," she went on. "Senator Dunn's daughter. Big event. We're expecting over 80 guests, and we don't have enough parking space. You've got the land. It's just sitting there." I stared at her. My land. The one I'd just spent $14,500 restoring after last month's storm. Regrading, reseeding, installing underground drainage. Weeks of work, months of savings. "Amanda," I said slowly, "I'm not comfortable with dozens of luxury cars driving over my field. It's still recovering, the ground's soft," and her smile dropped, fast. "I'm not asking." Her voice turned sharp. "This is important to the community. The senator is a guest of honor. We're trying to project class. You're part of this neighborhood, whether you like it or not." "I'm not in the HOA," I said calmly. "No. But your presence reflects on us. Your little rustic paradise is part of the view." My jaw clenched, but I kept my tone measured. "I'm sorry, but the answer is no." She stepped forward, too close. Her perfume hit me like a wall of cold citrus and steel. "You remember the issue with your back patio permit last year?" she said softly, but with enough venom to curdle milk. "The board's been revisiting that. Some of us think the approval process was rushed. You wouldn't want any issues, especially not with county inspectors involved." I stared at her. I remembered all right. That issue had cost me 6 weeks of back-and-forth paperwork and nearly $3,000 in survey and legal fees, all because the HOA had filed a complaint with incorrect boundary lines. And when the county sided with me, Amanda never apologized. She just stopped replying. Now she was weaponizing it. I looked at her, really looked, and realized she wasn't here to make a deal. She was here because she thought I'd fold. "You know what?" I said, slowly smiling. "Sure, they can park here." Her eyes lit up like she'd just won a war. "Excellent. I knew you'd be reasonable. We'll direct them over around 5. She turned on her heels and walked away, already pulling out her phone, probably to alert her army of wedding planners and HOA enforcers. But behind my smile, something else was happening. She thought she'd won, that I'd rolled over. She had no idea what I was about to do. After Amanda left, I stood at the window for a long time, watching her disappear down my driveway, heels clicking like war drums on concrete. My hands were still wrapped around my coffee mug, now cold. But I wasn't. I was burning. This wasn't just about parking anymore. This was about entitlement, about the slow, creeping way power poisons people. Amanda thought her position on the HOA gave her authority over everyone and everything, even property that doesn't belong to her. And now, She'd tried to threaten me again, just like last year. I walked into the kitchen, set my mug down, and pulled out the junk drawer. Beneath a pile of takeout menus and batteries was a worn, spiral-bound notebook labeled Projects. Most of it was landscaping plans, seasonal maintenance notes, quotes from contractors. But the last few pages, they were reserved for something else. I flipped to a blank sheet and wrote 2 words at the top. Event response. Step 1. I called Reed. Reed was an old friend from high school who now ran logistics for an event production company. If anyone knew how to build something professional-looking on short notice, it was him. "Tell me you're finally throwing a party," he joked. "Not exactly," I said. "I need to turn my front field into a valet-style parking lot. Real signage, real fencing, a payment booth. Bonus, if we can make it look more official than the actual event they're hosting." "I'm listening." Reed showed up 3 hours later with a van full of gear. Pop-up barriers, cones, printed signs, 2 mobile payment systems, a collapsible canopy, and even a portable PA system. "This is better than some city-run events I've done," he said, surveying the field. "Let's make it sting a little." We worked all afternoon, measuring and marking clean rows with flags and stakes. I printed pricing boards. $75. Standard parking. $120. Premium shade zone. $150. Valet priority exit. $300. Reserved corner. Limited availability. We hung lights between wooden poles and lined the entry with black and gold ribbon. The entire setup had an air of exclusivity to it, like some pop-up VIP experience in the mountains. I stood back and looked at it as dusk began to fall. It was perfect, polished, intimidating, and completely legal. Back inside, I dug out the doorbell camera footage from that morning. Amanda's tone, her words, the veiled threat, all captured clearly. I saved the file, labeled it HOA Threat AW, and uploaded a copy to a secure cloud folder. I wasn't naive. She might come back swinging, but this time, I was ready. At 8:00 p.m., I sat down at my desk and wrote a quick notice. To all guests attending the Dunn wedding event, please note that overflow parking will be provided at the adjacent property for a fee. This is a privately owned lot, not affiliated with the Silver Pines HOA. All rates are clearly posted. Cash, card, and mobile payments accepted. I printed out 20 copies and handed them to Reed to quietly tape up near the HOA clubhouse and neighborhood mailboxes early Sunday morning. "You really want the fire, don't you?" he said. "No," I replied, "but I'm tired of being burned." That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was nervous, because I was ready. By 4:30 p.m. on Sunday, the field was immaculate. Grass trimmed, lights flickering softly. Booth positioned right at the entrance with the sign posted high. "Welcome to Premium Event Parking. Private property overflow parking for the Dunn wedding. Please select your preferred service level. Standard, $75. Premium shade, $120. Priority exit, $150. Reserved corner, $300. Every line, every detail, intentionally sharp, like bait for someone who thought they couldn't be caught." I wore a black dress shirt, slacks, and a red vest I hadn't worn since Halloween 5 years ago. I looked like a professional valet manager at a ski lodge. Reed stood nearby in a dark coat with an iPad and card reader. At 5:08 p.m., the first car rolled in, a Mercedes GLS with dealership plates. A middle-aged man leaned out of the window, sunglasses on despite the cloudy sky. "This is the wedding parking, right?" "Yes, sir. Welcome to premium parking. Would you prefer standard or shaded?" "I thought this was free." "This is private land. HOA made no arrangements. Cash or card?" There was a long pause. Then, a sigh. He handed over a black Amex. "Just standard. Great, you'll be in row 1, space 12. Here's your receipt." He drove off slowly, glancing in the rear view like he knew something wasn't right. The next 5 cars followed the same pattern. Initial confusion, minor protest, reluctant payment. Some paid premium for the better spots. Some scoffed and turned around. But no one parked for free. By 5:31 p.m., Amanda arrived. I recognized her car, a spotless white Lexus RX with custom chrome trim. She hit the brakes hard when she saw the booth. I stepped out, clipboard in hand, like I'd been waiting for her all my life. She didn't even put the car in park, just flung the door open and stormed toward me, stilettos stabbing the gravel like punctuation. "What is this?" I smiled calmly. "Parking services, as agreed." "This isn't what we agreed to." "We never signed anything, Amanda. And I have footage of you threatening me. You told me I had no choice." I disagreed. "So now, you and your guests are paying for access to land you tried to bully out of me." She turned crimson. "This is extortion." "No. This is capitalism. You assumed you could command private land without compensation. I just turned your assumption into an opportunity." A silver BMW behind her honked. Then another. The line was backing up, and people were watching. I leaned slightly toward her. "You can tell them all to turn around if you want. I'm not stopping you. But good luck explaining to a U.S. senator why his daughter's wedding parking is now a PR nightmare, because you couldn't respect private property." That was the moment. The instant it hit her that she no longer controlled the narrative. She yanked out her phone and called someone. Probably backup. Or maybe the cops. Or the senator himself. I didn't care. I had my receipts. Literally. By 5:50, cars were packed tight in rows. We had already collected over $2,000. Reed was keeping count, snapping drone shots for documentation and quietly texting me updates. Then, right on cue, red and blue lights. 2 sheriff cruisers rolled up. 1 officer stepped out, Deputy Halverson, a straight shooter who'd responded to noise complaints once or twice in the past. Amanda practically ran to him. "Officer, thank God he's scamming our guests. Charging money for an event the community agreed upon. On your land, ma'am?" "No, but is he on his land?" "Well, yes, but..." Halverson turned to me. "You charging people?" "Yes, my land. Private event use. All fees clearly posted. All transactions documented. No one is required to park here. They're free to leave at any time." Halverson looked at Amanda. "Ma'am, unless you've got written proof he authorized free access, he's within his rights." "He's not impersonating any official body, and this isn't fraud. It's paid parking." Her mouth opened, then closed. Twice. No words came out. "If you want to file a formal complaint," Halverson added, "you can go to the county office Monday. But if you ask me, you're lucky he's not suing you for harassment." At 6:10 p.m., a sleek black SUV pulled up. Senator Dunn. He stepped out, immaculate as always, his tie perfectly aligned, his presence commanding the silence. Amanda approached him first, rapid-fire whispering. He held up a hand. "I've already been briefed. What I want to know is, why am I hearing that my daughter's wedding parking wasn't properly arranged, and that this gentleman had to handle the mess himself?" She stammered. I waited. He turned to me. "Sir, you're the landowner?" "Yes, Senator. I was coerced this morning by Ms. Whitmore to allow use of my land. I chose instead to provide regulated, private access. No threats, no shouting. Just a solution that happens to be profitable." The senator looked at me, then at Amanda. Then he smiled. "Send me the link to that donation you mentioned earlier. The one for the scholarship fund?" "I'll do that. Every cent of today's earnings will go there." Amanda looked like her world had cracked in half. And honestly, that was just the beginning. By the time the last luxury SUV had paid and parked, we had collected just over $6,200. The drone footage was crisp. Every guest interaction had been recorded. Every receipt saved. And the best part? I didn't need to say another word. The community was already buzzing. Guests at the wedding weren't whispering about the bride's dress or the hors d'oeuvres anymore. They were talking about the parking lot, about how Amanda secured private land without asking, about the quiet guy with the clipboard and the calm smile who somehow flipped the whole thing in his favor. Even Senator Dunn didn't stick around long. He shook my hand before he left, tucked a personal donation into my vest pocket, and said, "Sometimes the loudest message comes from the quietest man in the room." That night, Reed and I stood by the booth under soft lights as the last few cars rolled out. He handed me a flash drive with the full video archive labeled, "The Day HOA Learned the Rules." We laughed, but there was something else in the air, heavier than satisfaction, a shift, a tension breaking. The next morning, I didn't sleep in. I ironed a clean shirt, printed a certified donation check for the exact amount we collected, and walked into the Silver Pines HOA Community Center at 9:01 a.m. Normally, I wouldn't be caught dead at an HOA meeting, but today was different. The air was thick with curiosity. Residents looked at me with something between shock and admiration. Amanda was already seated at the head of the table, flanked by two board members. She was pale, lips drawn tight, but still wearing that trademark smirk, like she thought she could spin it all away. "You're not a member," she said as I walked in. "No," I replied, "but I'm a resident. And after last night, I think this community deserves to hear a few things." Before she could cut me off, Mr. Colton, the treasurer, usually silent in the background, spoke up. "I'd like to hear what he has to say." That was it. The dam cracked. Others nodded. One woman in the back even clapped once, awkwardly, then stopped. The room hushed. Amanda didn't speak again. I walked to the front and connected my laptop to the projector. The screen lit up with a paused video. Amanda on my porch, finger jabbed in my chest, saying, "This isn't optional. The senator is important. Your land is doing nothing anyway." Gasps. I hit play. The room watched in stunned silence as Amanda's threatening tone, the parking lot footage, the calm police response, and the senator's reaction played out like scenes in a courtroom drama. Then I showed the donation check and pulled up the website of the Telluride Mountain Scholarship Fund, a local nonprofit that Amanda and the board had once rejected from HOA grants for being irrelevant. "Every dollar from last night is going there," I said. "Because, unlike petty power plays, real leadership serves something bigger than control." No one clapped this time. People were too stunned to move. Then, out of nowhere, a voice from the back said, "She threatened me, too. Over the deck remodel. Said it would set a bad precedent." Another. "She fined me for a hummingbird feeder. Said it attracted the wrong wildlife." Another. "My son was told his scooter was unsightly and violated visual harmony." I thought we were the only ones. It was like a switch flipped. One by one, the community found its voice. You could see it on Amanda's face, that slow, dawning horror as the room she used to dominate turned against her. And not because I attacked her, but because she had finally been seen for who she really was. By the end of the meeting, a motion had been raised, not by me, but by Mr. Colton himself, to hold a special vote for board restructuring. 3 people stepped down. "Amanda?" She didn't even wait for the vote. She stood, gathered her papers with trembling hands, and walked out without a word. Not a glance, not an apology, not a fight, just silence. As the door clicked shut behind her, Mr. Colton looked at me. "Would you consider joining the committee to revise our bylaws?" I paused, then smiled. "Only if the first rule says, no one is above the rules." Amanda never came back. No farewell email, no final word. Just a for sale sign quietly hammered into her yard the next week, as if the HOA queen had decided to abandon her crumbling kingdom overnight. And just like that, the neighborhood exhaled. It was an instant. No balloons went up, no parades. But something changed. The air felt lighter, Yards felt friendlier. The weekly newsletter stopped sounding like a list of threats and started sounding like, well, a community bulletin. At the next meeting, I sat beside Mr. Colton and two new faces, both neighbors I'd only waved at before but now knew by name. We didn't argue about mailboxes or hedge heights. Instead, we talked about the real stuff. Starting a community garden on an unused lot, creating a grants fund for residents needing help with home repairs, drafting a new resident rights and protections clause in the bylaws. The old rulebook that Amanda had weaponized was officially scrapped. A new one, written by actual people, for actual people, was underway. And the best part? None of it felt like revenge, it felt like restoration. That same week, I visited the Telluride Mountain Scholarship Fund office in person to deliver the certified check. The director, a kind older woman with a silver braid and hiking boots, looked at the amount and gasped. "This covers almost 4 full student awards," she said. Do we have you to thank?" I smiled. "Not just me. The whole neighborhood paid for this. They just didn't know it until last weekend." She laughed, then hugged me. A real hug. Not political. Not polite. Just real. Back at home, I found a letter taped to my front door. No envelope. Just a folded page. I was at the wedding. I didn't know what Amanda did until later. Thank you for not yelling. Thank you for standing your ground without making the rest of us feel stupid. I paid for parking that night, and I'm glad I did. We needed a wake-up call. No signature. Didn't need one. A week later, I was mowing the edge of the field when a kid, maybe 10 years old, rode by on a bright orange scooter. He stopped, looked at me, then called out, "Hey, my mom said you're the reason I can ride this again." I laughed. I didn't do anything. "Yeah, you did. You made the rules fair." He rode off before I could respond. I just stood there, blinking in the sunlight, heart heavier than the mower in my hands. This was never about Amanda. It wasn't even about the land. It was about what happens when someone finally says no, loud enough that others remember they can too. About realizing that the rules we live under, and the people who write them, should never be untouchable. That sometimes you don't win by fighting louder. You win by standing still and letting truth do the talking. It's been 3 months since Amanda left Silver Pines. Her house sold quickly. Cash buyer, of course. New family moved in last week. 2 kids, a golden retriever, and a beat-up minivan that doesn't match the rest of the cul-de-sac. And that's exactly what I love about it. No one complained. No one called the HOA, because the HOA isn't what it used to be. The new board finalized the revised bylaws. Every resident got a printed copy, in plain language, no fine print, no hidden traps. For the first time, people showed up to meetings not to argue but to share ideas. We built the community garden. We launched the emergency repair fund. We even set up a neighborhood fix-it day, where anyone who needed help with a fence, a door, a busted irrigation pipe, just put their name on the list and folks would show up with tools and time. One of those names? Mine. And when I opened my gate that Saturday morning, there were 6 neighbors standing there, smiling, ready to help me rebuild the shed that a windstorm had taken out the week before. I didn't even have to ask. The senator reached out again, sent a letter, handwritten surprisingly. "Thank you for how you handled everything. My daughter told me it was the most memorable part of her wedding, not the drama, but the way you handled it. Calm, fair, firm. We need more people like you, not louder, just unshakable." I folded it up and tucked it in the drawer next to my permits and deed. One evening, just before dusk, I saw a familiar figure standing on the sidewalk across from my field. It was Amanda. She looked thinner, more tired. Not in that broken, defeated way. Just quieter. She didn't walk up, didn't say anything. Just stood there, arms crossed, watching the neighborhood kids run through the grass she once said was inappropriate for common viewing. Their laughter echoed through the trees. Our eyes met. just for a second. She looked away first. Then, she turned and walked down the street. No drama, no last word, just a shadow that didn't linger. Sometimes, I think about how close I came to just giving in, to saying yes, to avoiding conflict, to letting things slide like so many had for so long. And sometimes, I think the real story isn't what I did. It's what happened after. Now, when I walk through Silver Pines, people wave, they stop and talk. One guy built a tiny wooden sign next to our community garden that says, "Accountability grows here." It makes me smile every time I pass it. Not because I beat Amanda, not because I made a few $1,000s from parking fees, but because this neighborhood, the one that once followed out of fear, finally found its voice. And I didn't have to yell to make that happen. Just stand still.